what couldn't have been anticipated was the speed in which the Iraqi army units fled en masse. Militants in the hundreds, possibly low thousands, many of them belonging to the jihadist extremist group, the Islamic State of Iraq and Asham, were able to rout these forces, and they fled in the tens of thousands.
And the Iraqi army did not attempt to fight back, right?
Absolutely no. For many of the soldiers, this simply was a city not worth dying for. They had a hostile relationship with the population. The population saw them more as occupiers and as enemies, more than a national army. So they didn't want to put up a fight and decided not to die.
They left armoured vehicles, they left military hardware, they left weapons, clearly. Do you think that would happen in the case of Baghdad?
It's going to be very difficult to see this being repeated in Baghdad, mainly because that's where the central government's forces are concentrated, and also the central government in Baghdad is relying more and more on Shia militias. They are Iranian-backed, ideologically driven militia forces who act as paramilitary auxiliary forces for the Iraqi government.
You make Baghdad sound like a very different place to Mosul, but I'm wondering what the level of fear is on the ground where you are now.
Well, there's a lot of confusion on the ground. I mean, the checkpoints here in Baghdad, some tell you there's a curfew imposed at 10 p.m., which was just a few minutes ago, others saying 12. These are, official Iraqi security forces who it seems themselves have no idea what's going on.
Do you think that they could topple the government there?
ISIS don't necessarily want to topple the government. What they're trying to do is provoke the Shia militias and even ordinary Shias from taking up arms. Why this becomes dangerous is because the government is calling for this. The government is opening up recruitment centers in the capital and across the south. It's calling for citizens to arm themselves, and it's telling them that we will provide you with arms. Now, of course, this is exactly what the jihadists want, because if they can trigger an all-out civil war between the Sunnis and Shias, it will make their life much easier and give them much more room to maneuver across the country.
Well, let's talk to Patrick Osgood from Erbil in Kurdistan. Do you feel that is a very different place tonight, Patrick?
Yeah, very much so. Erbil, here in Erbil, life goes on more or less as normal. But it's only 40 minutes away that checkpoints with Mosul are seeing thousands of refugees coming over. It feels very, very different indeed. Increasingly, like a different country. You've got the Kurdistan regional government here is in a strange situation where it's found itself having had its armed forces derided for some time, now having the only functioning army by a sanctioned actor in the country.
And when you say functioning army, you think this would be an army that would stand up and fight if push came to shove?
To defend Kurdish territory, to defend Kurdistan, absolutely. I would be surprised to see them at the behest of either the central government or under international pressure making any kind of sortie into Mosul. The attitude here is from the Kurdistan leadership is they've been warning about something like this for a very long time, and it's fallen on deaf ears both in Baghdad and internationally. They now feel vindicated, and they want to get on with the business of building a kind of quasi-nation state, which they're already well on the way to doing.
And if I can just go back to you, Haider Al-Khoei, when you look at Fallujah, Mosul, Tikrit, they're just saying what's gone now is gone.
Yeah, the central government and Prime Minister Maliki yesterday said Mosul will be retaken in 24 hours, which is laughable given he said initially the campaign in Anbar is only going to last 1 week. The Iraqi forces may try to retake the cities, but Mosul is a lot bigger than Fallujah. And what we're seeing in Fallujah is the city is being besieged from the outside by the central government forces, and they are shelling often indiscriminately, and there are many civilian casualties. And if the Iraqi army does try to do the same thing in Mosul, I think we're going to see a much bigger and wider humanitarian crisis. And sources in Mosul tell me that the people of Mosul, and this speaks to how hostile the relationship with the army was. When the army fled and jihadists entered the city, the people of Mosul were more afraid of Iraqi army retaliations in terms of airstrikes than they were of the extremist jihadists themselves. So we are looking at very, very dark days ahead of us indeed.
Thank you both very much indeed. Thank you.